Good morning, everyone. I'd like to call to order the regular meeting for January of the Binghamton Local Development Corporation. You've got in front of you the minutes of the November 17th annual meeting, a regular meeting. I'll take a motion whenever anyone is ready. Mr. Saul, thank you. You have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Burns. Any comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
I'd like to welcome Sophia Rosinetti to the board. Welcome. Great to have you here.
Good to see everyone.
Okay. I'm sorry that I didn't do that before that's okay.
I had my notes too, Patrick.
Okay.
So
So I just, not only I did two bad things, I didn't do it in order and I stole the mayor's thunder.
That's right.
Perfect. The third item is the approval of the minutes of the January 5th special business meeting, which I think you have in your packet. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Mayor. Second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Brian. Any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Great, thank you. And I think you have both electronically and in your packet, the November and December 2022 treasurer's reports. Rachel, do you want to say anything about that?
Yes, so let's start with the November report. And we'll start on page 4 for the restricted account. The end of month balance in November was $1,032,941.46. And then no restricted receivables. We'll skip to page 6 for the UDAG account. The end of month balance in UDAG was $1,939,181.36. And then I'm gonna skip to December and we'll talk about the receivables in December. So for restricted in December on page 4 of the December report, the end of month balance was $1,033,761.46. And no receivables for restricted in December. Skipping to page 6 for the UDAG account, the end of month balance in UDAG was $1,054,110.48. And then we will skip to page 7 for the UDAG receivables. Everyone except for 142 Court Street has been paid up in December. So those folks are still, technically in default. We need to move forward probably with legal action. They just don't seem to really have any. They have such a small balance left. They just don't seem to be available. I haven't been able to get in contact with them and get them to pay. And everyone else who is not in default is up to date with their payments.
Ariel?
No, she's in
Okay, okay.
So let's see, in the unrestricted account.
I have just one question.
Sure.
The council of churches, they still haven't gotten their money.
They
to
still
pay us
have
back.
one, yeah, they have one like chunk left of the work to do, and one chunk of their loan that we're gonna pay out, and then after that, they'll start paying them. So with it being winter, work is on hold over there, and they'll let us know when they're gonna start back up again, and then we'll get that one paid out and we'll get it going. So in the unrestricted account, you can see in December, we were reimbursed for the Columbus Day Parade expenses. In the enterprise triad account, there was no activity. Mayor's veterans account, no activity. Grant account, no activity. And then on the loans page, everyone everyone remains the same, including Ariel, unfortunately. And so effective as of the end of December, the delinquency percentage of all loans not designated non-performing is 0.5.
Who's our,
Ariel Hendricks she operates a gym on Court Street, Clinton Street. And she had a small loan and just has not as yet been able to pay.
Thank you. Any questions for Rachel? Any other questions? Okay, let's move on to old business then. Appears to be none. Moving on to new business, there's two resolutions this morning. Resolution 23-4, resolution of the Binghamton Local Development Corporation approving an updated procurement policy. You have a resolution and the policy. You want to offer a summary?
Yeah, so I think in 2011 was the last time the BLDC adopted policies, and at that time, we adopted wholesale, the city of Binghamton's agreement, and the next one, which is our disposition of property policy. Quite honestly, reading through them, they don't apply to us. They reference a lot of city of Binghamton procedures that are not applicable to the BLDC. So Rachel went to a LDC training last year, spoke with a number of lawyers and other LDC leaders, and got some template examples to update our policies that is more in line with what an LDC is allowed to do under public authorities law. Also covers us. There were some things in our policies that we were doing in practice to meet public authorities requirements, noticing folks at the Senate on certain decisions we make, but now that's all written into our policies and procedures. And this is the same for both the procurement policy that we're in this resolution and the disposition of property policy, which is the next resolution.
Sarah, is it accurate to say that this new policy will better reflect what current LDCs in the state and what state authorities have? We're just modeling it after those.
Yes, yeah, there's a pretty standard template that most LDCs use. The agency's LDC uses a very similar set of language.
Thank you. Any questions?
Make a motion to approve.
Thank you, Mayor.
Well, second.
Thank you, Susan. Any comments or questions? Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great. Moving on to resolution 23-5, resolution of the Binghamton Local Development Corporation approving an updated disposition of real property guidelines. Same. Anything specifically you want to?
No, just that the public authorities law is pretty specific about the way that we can do disposition of real property, and so you'll see a lot of language reflected in this related specifically to public authorities law.
The ABO is very. This reads almost verbatim, it's just sort of taken from their suggestion of what we do to make it positive, that this is what we do.
Yeah, and I will say in practice, we were already doing a lot of this stuff, but now it's codified and very
I know
clear.
it was a couple months ago, but I know I looked at it too, and I looked at some other the LDCs, what they published online, they're required to publish this online. And this reads, I found like 3 or 4 of them in a row that had almost the exact same language as this.
I think we're all working from very similar templates.
But they were all following the ABO said this is the minimum policy update.
Good. Consistency.
May I have a motion?
Make a motion.
Thank you, Mayor.
second,
Thank you, Mr. Burns. Any further questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, great. Moving on to remarks from the mayor.
Great, thank you, Patrick. Again, I want to welcome Sophia Resinetti. Councilwoman Resinetti is new to the BLDC board. We want to welcome back Joe Burns for this year as well. We're excited to have you. And just a couple kind of quick updates from my side. You remember at the special meeting, we approved outside counsel to work on the Boscov's lease. We had an initial kickoff meeting with the attorney. We had sent them a volume of documents from Corporation Counsel's office, and they are in contact with the Boscov's attorneys to start working on the lease structure. So that is moving down the tracks quite well, and we'll get an update from them in the coming weeks. As it relates to some other economic development priorities, at the REDC call yesterday, the New York Secretary of State said that, a couple weeks is when the Southern Tier would hear about its downtown revitalization initiative application. So as you recall, it's us, Binghamton for the Clinton Street plan, Johnson City put an application in, Ithaca, and then Roxbury. So we're obviously anxious and anticipating an announcement. I feel good about our chances, but with the state, you never know. So that is going to be imminent. We also, thanks to the support of City Council at their meeting last night, will be issuing an application to Restore New York for the Crowley building, which is the 48 units of affordable market rate housing on Conklin Avenue, mixed use for that building. We've already received interest from an anchor tenant in the commercial space. So we'll be working with them, and economic development is passing along information to those developers. I think when Restore New York was created by the state of New York, projects like the Crowley building were what they had in mind. You have waterfront, you have a blighted building, an old industrial building, an adaptive reuse, bringing people like young professionals into the area. So we think it'll mark very high, and we're excited about that as well. In addition, on the state level, it's getting to almost a weekly basis that I'm bird dogging either developers or state officials regarding the status of our different affordable housing projects throughout the city. Just to kind of go through them, we've got Town and Country, Helio Health at 200 Court Street, Ken Carney's project at the Stadium Lofts. We have 187 Clinton Street, which was awarded Restore New York dollars. So all of those plates, we're keeping them in the air, and they're at different stages. But there'll be nobody in Albany who doesn't know my name by the end of this process, because I'm really being aggressive because we desperately need affordable housing. So those are kind of my updates. Again, the big one being in the next 2 weeks, hopefully a good news on the BLDC supported Clinton Street revitalization plan. Thank you.
Any questions for the mayor?
How's the parking lot going?
It's a big project. I forgot to mention. It's good. Chuck may have the latest from the prefab, but we've wrote the initial checks. We have a plan in place. There's drawings, there's approvals. Chuck, do you have anything besides that?
We got a contract ready to go once we get a guaranteed maximum price. Everything's been approved by both parties. It's great. We're supposed to get that middle of February, end of February contract.
Yep.
The engineering firm is still, does the precast, he's doing the engineering on that. With the system and guaranteed maximum price.
It's Water Street.
Yep.
The apartments up on top are all.
So how we're building the garage is to accept, we're going to build it with the enhanced structural aspects to support the future construction. They have more time to do the due diligence, but United Group is doing the financing, and we believe that they're going to be at the February IDA meeting to get pilot incentives to pass through the IDA. So they were just a few numbers away from each other when they met. So that will be approved from a local level, and we're excited about it. But that's going to be years down the road. But nonetheless, we're moving forward under the understanding that housing is also coming, and the garage will be built to accept it.
So years down the road, so we're gonna build the parking ramp before, and then they will begin that. Well, after that's built?
Not well
They
after.
have a year in the contract
Okay,
to make a decision. But the foundation is being built,
right,
which is about $150,000 more, I think, Jared. That would
Withhold
hold
the
that.
right.
weight of
Mhm.
new construction.
And, it's a sort of an insurance policy for the city, because, we build the basics. And if it's the group that's currently tied to the developer, if they choose to move forward, they can. Or if for whatever reason they choose not to, any future developer, it's basically a podium to build up. So
Nice. Good.
it's not specific to their development.
How many units could it support? How many units could it
Nice
support?
room.
What they have right now, I think is 122 is what it's.
Wow.
what we're gonna do is build a garage. In order to build a housing on there, you have to put a podium on there. It's like
Mhm.
$3 million.
Okay.
That's not being built until they tell us to move forward.
Oh, okay,
Okay, if they tell us to move forward, they're gonna pay for that.
okay.
Gotcha.
Okay, if they decide not to build, as Jared said, someone else can come in and build housing on top of it, or we can build additional parking on top of it.
So the money we've set aside for the whole project, I think it was 7 million.
So
Roughly, yep.
So we're keeping back 3 million of it for that possibility of building that, or are we spending all that money now?
We'll be spending all of it.
Okay,
They'll be responsible for the 3 million to build the podium.
they will be responsible for the
Yes.
podium, okay,
Mhm.
all right, thanks.
The agreement on the podium is that we would build it, okay, and they would pay us back over time
Got
period.
it. Thank you.
And do we have a lawsuit against the previous owners of the Crowley building?
I didn't
No,
hear
they
that.
paid off.
That's been paid in full.
Okay,
And that property becomes taxable.
Yeah.
To the new owner,
Which
unless
one?
they get a
the new
pilot.
Crowley.
That's they get a pilot.
Yes.
Right.
Well, pilot's just deferring taxes for
Yeah, they would still pay the base rate of taxes and then it would phase in the additional taxes.
win-win.
Yep.
Mhm.
And is there something in their contract that if they don't do something within a few years, that it comes back to the city or something, so?
In which, for the Crowley building?
Yeah,
So the Crowley building, the city doesn't have ownership.
Okay,
The
right.
Mountain Fresh Dairy paid off their taxes and paid off the BLDC
so they. own it.
liability. So they are selling the building to, the development group behind Crowley. And I'm not sure if it closed yet. They were trying to, tomorrow? There you go.
It's a local. Right?
It is, yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes, yeah.
Individual with an ownership in a downtown Binghamton, a building, and then, they're partnering. And what I like about it, I know Sarah does too, is that they're partnering with an architecture engineering firm out of Corning that has extensive experience working with state grants and extensive experience in large scale historic preservation housing projects.
That's great.
The state knows them, they're a known entity, they've got a track record, which is important to us.
That's gonna be a great project.
Yeah.
The other,
I'm done.
I'm not sure everyone understands this, but why we do pilots, okay? Someone comes in here and builds $100,000 or $1 million property, they're gonna get hit with $100,000 in taxes.
Mhm.
No one is gonna come in Binghamton and build with that type of tax rate. Without a pilot, you're not gonna get any building.
But eventually we get to that point.
Yes, get
Right.
yes.
A lot of the student housing projects are coming to full valuation in the next
Nice.
couple of years, because it was that 2011 through 2014 kind of range when a lot of them came online, so.
So we'll expect to get sued over their assessed value.
That is true.
Brian.
Might turn a better position.
Exactly.
They hadn't built it.
Yeah, and some of the land that it was built on,
You could find it reasonable.
well, for Twin River Commons, for example, a lot of that land, which was publicly owned, so it was generating no taxes forever.
Right.
Or the Water Street Garage, the fact that, we're gonna be able to get money, tax dollars even through a pilot, that property has never been generating taxes for 60 years, because it's always been a garage. So it's like found money sometimes.
That's great.
Well, it's development too. I mean,
It is.
development without taxes is still development.
Great, thank you, Mayor. Is there anything left? Did you steal everything that's?
I got a few things in mind. Just to provide you some updates and I'll ask Joel and Rachel to jump in here. The Redken Holdings loan that we authorized last year, Broome County Arts Council has moved into their facility. If you haven't had a chance to go check it out, I definitely encourage you to do so. It's a beautiful space. They're very happy in it. Redken Holdings is very happy with how the project went. Just a very positive outcome. They've already created jobs in that new location. They were over with Patrick's group at 5 South College Drive. Now they're in the city of Binghamton. They have more staff. They have programs coming online. They're currently working out a use of space policy to allow community groups to use their space when they need to. They're offering a Tai Chi program in there. They've hit the ground running. So a really worthwhile investment. Definitely encourage you to check that out, whether it's First Friday or otherwise.
Nancy says she misses me every day.
You're gonna have to drop by.
Put that on the record.
The hand-in-hand loan that we made to support the purchase of Nurcheese, I believe they're closing on the acquisition of the business shortly this week or next week.
So the closing was yesterday.
Oh, great. So we're gonna get an update from the hand-in-hand group and try to do a story. We can kind of tell you guys and the public the story of how that all came to fruition. It really is, I think, like a truly American story, someone who goes from, working the cash register at a pizza joint to owning it 20 years later, keeping a long-standing Binghamton business going and vibrant and alive. So we're really excited to tell that story and communicate the value of the BLDC and our programs to our community. Couple of fun things are, we are sponsoring the Breaking Down the Silos event that the incubator puts on. It's coming back this year after a couple year hiatus due to COVID. Our event is February 1st at 5 p.m. over on at the Charles Street Business Park at the Save Around building, who's graciously agreed to host us. It's just a networking event. We get business leaders, community organizations, and folks together. We're going to send all of you an invite. We'd be happy to have your attendance. There is food and drinks, and we'll have presentations by the group at Save Around talking about what they do there, as well as Sarah Lou over at Parlor City Vegan on Clinton Street, the graduate of the incubator, who will tell kind of her story from inception to a full restaurant that's had national recognition for their products. We also have our business plan competition coming up. I'm going to defer to Joel mostly on this, but we'll be getting you guys more information on that.
Right.
Wanna add anything?
Just the sponsorship.
Yeah.
We have this year, M&T has come in as a title sponsor. So the business plan, they will support half the prize list of it. It's a $7,500 prize list for it. And they are going to fund that as well as provide judges for it. And we're very excited about that partnership. We've of course had for years a number of entities who past graduates of or past winners, I should say, of the business plan competition, who have businesses like Freshy Sites and Idea Craft that have donated prizes for the event. So you'll be hearing more about that shortly.
Cool. And Idea Craft is celebrating their 10-year anniversary.
Correct. Yeah.
They have an event tonight over at 205 Drive. So it's just an example of a business that has grown in our community and has given back to us when we've asked for support for them. They do amazing work, and we're excited to celebrate with them tonight. The last thing I have is that on Tuesday, the mayor's office and the Chamber of Commerce hosted an infrastructure summit. It's the community building series that the Chamber of Commerce puts on every year. This year, we partnered with them to support 3 events on topics that are salient to the city of Binghamton and the Chamber of Commerce. Our first one was on the state of our infrastructure. We had folks from across the state, from DEC, from the Workforce Development Initiative in Albany, come to town and facilitate conversations on resiliency and infrastructure, how municipalities can better support infrastructure development, public-private partnerships. Susan, Patrick, and Jared were all there. If you have anything you want to add.
There was 65 people, there was, so it was well attended. We broke out into groups, very good discussions, very worthwhile event. So there's 2 more.
There should be 2 more. We are still talking about what the topics should be, but yeah, 2 more this year.
I think it's the first time. I mean, if you think about how much money is spent on infrastructure, the road construction industry, the ancillary engineering, architecture firms that have, big government contracts, they were all kind of been in the same room together talking about what are the best practices, and it was really good. I found it enjoyable.
I think a lot of good connections were made in the room as well, across the board. So
Chamber of Commerce let us know that there are folks who went to that event who have never been to a chamber event before. So getting new folks in that room and having new connections is really worthwhile. And the last thing I'll say is at the Strategic Priorities Committee earlier this month, we talked about updating our website to be in line with the way that we currently do loans. Right now, we have on our website pretty standard loan terms, but realistically, if someone walks into our office, we are having a conversation about how our loan programs can best fit them as opposed to how they can fit our loan programs. We're going to reflect our marketing to be in line with that, so that when folks are looking to our website, they can see that it's not okay, it's gonna be these terms and maybe I don't want those, but encourage them to have a conversation with us so that we can meet people where they're at. And if they're not a good fit for us, direct them to other resources in our community. And that's all.
Great, thank you, Sarah. Anything else for the group this morning? Any other topics? All right, the next meeting is February 23rd at 9 o'clock. Motion to adjourn. Thank you, Ron. Second,
Second.
Mr. Burns, all in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Thanks, everybody, very much.